Hey everybody, this is my version of a terry bow, and I've tried to put the camera where you would be able to see the ProBow really well. So you're not going to see my face in this video, but I wanted to give you a close-up of how I do these bows, and hopefully you'll get all of it. I'm just cutting a couple of pieces of wire. This is it's a paddle wire. It's 26 gauge. I have an order for 3 baby bows, baby boy bows, which is something I carry in my shop. So I thought I would record a little video of how I make them, and maybe it'll help some of you out that struggle with this ProBow device, and maybe you use something else for bow making, but this is what I like to use for these great big bows. And if you've got extra pieces of ribbon that you can't use somewhere else, this is a great way to use up some ribbon, because there is 6 different ribbons in the bow. Now I've got my board turned sideways, and hopefully I'll be able to do this because I'm kind of standing at an angle, but I think it'll be okay. And hopefully you will get everything here. This is my ProBow, is the large model. I use row C. You see, I'm trying to look at the camera. For this 12-inch bow, I've marked on mine the different sizes of some of the bows that I make. And you just use all the fingers except for the center. And this finger is considered the thumb. I don't use the center finger. These are all considered fingers, all the little pegs. And you can order this, I don't carry or sell the ProBow. It's what I use to make bows, but you can purchase the ProBow on Regina Seller's website, which is, of course, ProBow the Hand. Anyway, I've got 6 different ribbons, all wired. The first 3 are 1.5 inches, and the back 3 are 2.5 inches. And I hope that you can see what I'm talking about. I guess you probably can't catch that last one, but if I don't keep the camera where it's at, you won't see the board. So, I'm just going to start with my first little ribbon, and oh gosh, I guess if I back up you don't see it. I just fold the ribbon in half and chevron the ends. And then what I do is measure about where that tail is going to go, and this is going to be where I pinched my first ribbon. And hopefully you can see this. I just pinch it, gather it up like a little gather, turn it over, take my wire, come from behind, and give it a couple twists. So I've got one wire going down and one wire going up. And this is my ribbon. The wire is coming from the back of the ribbon, and it's going to go against this center peg. And you just try to keep it centered as far as the height of the peg. Wrap the top wire at the top of the peg and the bottom wire on the little thumbnail that is at the bottom of the board. And take the wire and twist it back under so the end of it is under the board. We'll use that later. So that's how you start the bow. Then each one of these ribbons is going to get one twist on each finger. The first ribbon on these 2, second ribbon on the next 2, and so on and so forth. You'll see as I go along. I just catch the first peg, come down here, gather the ribbon, the ribbon again, and I just twist it Now, on this first bow, you kind of have to pull back so that you can keep the center of that wire right in the center of your peg. Give it a little twist and wrap it around the next peg. Keep the tail that you've already cut kind of centered where it needs to be. Come back to the thumb peg, gather it again, and flip it over. Now this is when I use my second wire. Same thing, and I use the board to measure the length. Usually they come out a little bit too long, but it still is a good measuring tool. And I slide it in between that first ribbon to the right of the peg and come to the center where the first wire is, gather it and twist it. And you can give it a couple twists. I just twist it one strong time because this is just a helping hand. This is just an extra wire to keep everything gathered up so that, I mean, if you had to step away from the ribbon, it would all be right where you left it. So then I'm going to bring the last tail up and measure where I need to cut it. And then just chevron that. And that's our first ribbon. Now these are, I had large spools, but this is just, I had to use the spool for something else, so this is just the end of it. I have more spools, full spools, but this works. So, I'm starting the same way with the second ribbon. Chevron the end. I'm trying to see if I can stay in the camera. Measure where the tail's going to go. Find the center of my thumb peg. Line it up with the wire that's already there. Lay it down and gather the ribbon. Twist it over, flip it over. Put it right up against that first ribbon that we attached, and your helping hand wire, the extra wire, I just twist it on there. So that as you're making this bow, your bow will turn out a lot better if you can keep all of your wire, all of your twists centered right here on this peg. So I'm going to hold this up and hopefully you can see what I'm talking about. So as you build the bow out, try to keep the wires centered all together and don't get them lopsided and loopy because your bow will sometimes turn a little bit. So now I'm hoping I still have the board, yep, in the camera. Okay. Same process. Wrap it around the first peg, flip it. I take the extra wire and I twist mine on just about every ribbon. And if my ribbon's real thick, I'll give it an extra twist, but sometimes you don't have to. Because the objective is just to hold that straight. And I kind of try to pay attention to where the ribbon's at on each of the pegs and keep them about the same level all the way across. Bring it back, gather it, flip it, twist that wire off. And then measure for your last tail. Sometimes I have to come back through after I get the bow made and adjust the lengths of the tails. Some of them seem to get a little long. There we go. Now my last 1.5 inch ribbon. Get the pin out of it. Same process. I'm just folding it together, cutting it at an angle, measuring where the tail needs to stop, and I just bring it out just past the peg that the ribbon's going to go around. Bring it back here, gather it up, turn it over, and line it up right here on that wire where all my other ribbons are building out. Now this ribbon's pretty thin, so I don't really have to twist it again. And I got that second wire just a little bit off, but it'll be fine. And this is the same, you'll do the same process on all 6 ribbons. And I measure where I want my tail to stop. And there we go. Trying to get these out of my way. Okay, that's our first 3 ribbons. Now we're going to go to the 2.5 inch. Same process, just bigger ribbons. The bigger ribbons are a little bit more to gather up in that twist, but it's, once you get it started, it's easy. Now this ribbon is a little bit thicker, so I'm going to twist it twice. And there's our last tail. This is our, let's see, this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th ribbon. I guess I get it out of the camera when I cut the ribbon over there. It's cut in a chevron. And that is my husband with the lawnmower, sorry. Gather it up, flip it over. Line it up with the wire that's holding the rest of your ribbons and twist it off. I'm really having to fight to keep these things straight because I'm standing at an angle to my board so that I could put the camera where you guys could see it. But I'll figure it out. This extra little wire really, really helps. By the time you get that much ribbon stacked on here, that's a lot to hold just with twists. And our last ribbon. Okay, come through here, that'll be fine. Okay, we're gonna measure where the tails go. Oh wait, sorry, back up. I need to chevron this, or I'll be doing it when everything's done. All right. This is a thick ribbon, so I've given it a little extra twist. Around that one, and we're going to make our last tail. Okay. And that's how you make a terry bow. This is the finished, all stacked out. Now, let me show you how to tie it off and take it off the board. So, you've got your helping hand wire. Now you're gonna, the first wire that we put on, you're gonna untwist the one that's on the thumb peg. And when you put that wire on there, you always wanna wrap it to the left so that when it's easier to unwrap to the right when you take it back off. And then come under here, find your little nail that's under the board. Hopefully you can see it right here. Unwrap that. And then you have the first wire that we use to attach the first ribbon with. And bring it back to the center of the stack. Give it a twist. And then get your helping hand wire and bring those two wires together, and then I just give it 2 or 3 good strong twists. Now, you're just going to lift this off the board. Sometimes it's easier to do that. These ribbons get kind of tight if you pull the thumb out, and then it'll just lift off. And there you go. Now I'm going to stop the video, rearrange the camera, and I'll show you how to fluff the bow out for the finished product. Okay, I'm back. This is what I use to fluff my bows out on. This is called a fluff box. My husband made mine, but I think ProBow the Hand, Regina Sellers, does sell them on her website. And I hope I've got the camera positioned to where you can see my process really well. If you're going to use your own handmade, homemade fluff box, the objective is that you make it really thick and heavy. You have an eye hook in the center of the box, and what I did, I think hers only come with 1 nail on the end right here, and I added one on each side of the box, because then I have a way to really secure my bow so that as I fluff it out, it doesn't wobble on me. So this is the left side, this is the left, this is the right. And I'm trying to make sure I'm where you can see me. Okay, we'll go with that. Now, here's my bow. As we took it off the ProBow, here's my wires that we wrapped around at the bottom. I'm going to bring those and hook them under the eye hook in the center of the fluff box. The longest wire I can find goes around the bottom nail. Then I just find the wires that seem to be about the longest and connect them to the sides of the other nails. Just give them a twist so that they'll hold the bow in place. So I've got my bow secured on there. Now let me see if I've got this where you can see it pretty well. Okay, I hope so. I'm going to start with the bottom ribbon, and I'm just going to separate the loop and the tail. And as I do, I'm going to go all the way to the center of that bow, or that bow loop, and open it up as much as I can. And the same thing with the tail, and I make them kind of at an angle. They're not really straight across from each other, but I start them one going to the left at the bottom and one going to the left at the top. Then the other side of the ribbon of the bow, I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom ribbon. So I'm going to have the tail to kind of go up straight across from the other tail, and the bow loop to go straight across from the bow loop. And again, open those loops up as much as you can. And then that's your first ribbon opened up. Now, so now we're going to come back, go up to the second loop. Same thing, bring your tail one direction, and I just try to divide them, put them between the loop and the tail that was the same ribbon, so that you're kind of spreading that out, the colors out. And then you're going to try to get the loop across from the other loop and the tail across from the other tail. Now sometimes it doesn't work out exactly right, but you get it pretty close. The objective is to keep your colors spread out. And hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Just fluffing those ribbons and those loops out as I go. Okay, we're ready for the third one. Again, I'm going to just separate them. I'm bringing this loop over between the two loops that were there before, and the tail between the other loops. And I like to just twist my box around, because then it makes it easier to see where the new loops are. Okay. And by having those pegs and nails on there to hold my bow in place, I don't worry about it falling over. It'll wobble a little, but it's fine. This is the easiest way to fluff it out. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay, we're ready for our 1.5" ribbons. Now you'll notice that one of the ribbons that was the 2.5 and the 1.5 are the same pattern. So I'm really going to try to keep those kind of apart. They're the same color and the same pattern, just smaller sizes. So I'm going to bring this loop back over here, kind of between the other ones, and leave this one here, the tail, so they'll be kind of catty corner from each other. And I'll do the same thing with the other side, just the other direction. Oops, that's got to go this way. Always opening those loops up, and I'll go back through and fluff them 1,000 times before I'm happy with them, but you get the idea. Okay, now we're down to the Swiss dot. And again, I'm just separating them. Loop one way, tail the other way. opening them up all the way at the base. Flip my board around so I can do the same thing on the other side. And by now my bow's kind of starting to get tight. As you keep opening these loops up, the bow gets down the center a little tighter and tighter and tighter. And that's a good thing because the loops will stay in place. And we're down to the last tail and ribbon. Let's see, I'm going to go this way. And like I said, I'll probably fluff this a dozen times when I'm getting it ready to ship. But you get the idea. That is the finished bow. Hopefully you can see it. Now all I have to do is come back and take the wires off, and it's ready to go. So I hope this tutorial helped. If you have questions, let me know. I'd be glad to answer them. Bye.